So here's a quick little video comparing two of the same rifles, but from different generations within the same company's ownership. Now, these are both Rossi rifles. The one on the bottom is considered to be a Puma. They're both 1892s and they're both chambered in .45 long Colt. But this one is brand new, and this one was made about 30 years ago. So here's just a quick video about some of the differences that you'll find, and we'll start at bump the window. We'll start at the butt. So the first thing that you will notice is the curvature of the butt here is different between these two rifles. On the older rifle, the curve is deeper, and on the newer rifle, the cut is more shallow. So this one will plant better if you need something a little flatter against your shoulder, and if you need more curve, this one would be better for you. Moving up from the butt, we then go to the stock. Now, on the newer one, the top of the buttstock stays flat and really wide, and then it begins to taper at about here until it ovals out before the grip. On the older one, immediately it starts tapering from the back here and becomes very narrow towards the front. There's more wood on that newer stock, and it's thicker generally entirely back here than on the older one. In the grip, you will notice that this rifle gets just slightly wider in the pistol grip here, where on the newer rifle it maintains the same thickness. Now we're going to start moving into some of the mechanical differences between the two rifles. So one of the things that you may notice, though, before we get there, is the furniture fittings on the newer one are not as good as the older one. On the older one, I hope that the sound catches, but here's me catching on what I can right here. So, nothing. On the newer one, I can catch it pretty good. On the older one, it's a lot smaller. Same thing with the forestock. A lot tighter taper here, and here there's a lip that comes out. All the fittings on the older rifle are better fittings. Now, mechanically, when we get into the metal parts of the rifle, with the lugs that lock the bolt in place, on the older one, they are tapered from the outside moving in, where on the newer one, they are more blocky and less tapered, and they come in just at an angle, kind of square towards the top. The new ones, the bolt actually sits tighter in because these lugs are slightly squared and wrapped around their locking position on the bolt. Now let's see if we can focus in on that. Okay. Ooh. Okay, so you can see that the bolt right there and right there, it wraps it, the bolt comes in, and this meets it on two faces at the front, one here and then that one right there. On the older rifle, it does not do that. This will help the bolt to sit still. I'm not going to go into depth on the difference between the old ones having no safety and the modern ones having a safety, because, I mean, that's just basically what it is. There's just a safety on the new one, and there isn't a safety on the old one. Some people like that, some people don't. I'm, for the most part, without a tremendous amount of opinion. Now, move on to, let's see here, the barrel, because the receivers outside of that, the most parts are the same, with the exception of the fact that the newer receiver, camera's out of focus. The newer receiver, all of its fittings where metal meets metal are tighter than the older one. Everything sits more snug, and the action has a tighter but blockier feel as you work the action, where the older one has just the tiniest bit more play. It's still not very much. It's still a safe rifle to shoot. The barrels between the two rifles are different as well. On the newer one, if you can catch it here with just your eyes, the newer one is slightly more built. There's more metal in the newer one. In the newer one, it doesn't taper as quickly as the older one does. The older one tapers very quickly from here to here, and it's pretty thin. The newer barrel is thicker at the end of the barrel, and it is also thicker the whole way down, except I believe right here at the mouth of the receiver. Also, there is more metal on the receiver here at the base of the forestock. All right, now we'll do sights. Now, on the old one, it was just a simple set of plain iron sights that's just all they were. It's a piece of metal with a notch cut in it. And on the newer one, it is buckhorn sights. I do prefer these buckhorn ones, where it's one piece from the dovetail to here until you get to the actual horns. Then the horns are, I'm not sure if they're one piece or not. They are a piece that is welded on to this 4-piece, but on this older one, because it is held in place here, there's a little bit of play in that sight. It can slide back and forth just ever so slightly with it being pinned here, because the dovetail is one piece and then the actual sight is another. You could replace it with a modern buckhorn sight and do that, but I just don't like that that's the sight it came with. When we get to the bands on the forestock, the old one is much thinner. It does, in fact, in my opinion, have a prettier look to it, being so sleek and so thin, where we got a little bit of dirt on there. On the newer one, the barrel band is thicker. It has a heavier dome to it, and overall there's just more metal there, which will probably lead to a longer life and better support of the barrel while shooting. Then we get down here to the foresights. On the older foresight, it is a single piece barrel band and sight. It works decently, but for longer shots, there's just not that same accuracy, because that barrel band can have just a little bit of play in it, because those barrels do move independently. I mean, it works, but it's one of those things where there is something better, and what is better is what they've done on the modern one, where they have the barrel band as one piece, and then they have the sight as another piece. I prefer that, because since the dovetail sits on the barrel instead of on the band, it's more likely to support what you're aiming at better, as well as the fact that there is a brass bead on that front sight, where on the old one it's just a piece of metal, and it's harder to see when you're shooting at night. Other differences between the rifles, there really isn't anything else that's different. The triggers are the same. Mechanically, they are the same, but the newer one does have thicker parts. The stocks are thicker. The barrel bands are thicker. The lugs wrap around better in the action. They'll both hold very high pressures. If you read from authors like Paco Kelly online, he details the kinds of pressure that these rifles can have in their chambers before blowing. Do all that kind of stuff at your own risk. I do it at my own risk, and I really enjoy what I can do with that. Between these two guns, obviously one of these is prettier than the other. In my opinion, the Puma is prettier. It has better craftsmanship, because those fittings just are so much nicer, and I will be working on this new one in helping it to just fit better in the hand and be more comfortable to shoot, and hopefully it'll even be prettier when it's all done. But with it being a little bit better build, better sights, thicker metal parts, it should do well for the owner in all of the pursuits that you would want with a rifle like this.